All right, we are recording. Ruben, it's all yours.
Okay, then thanks for the introduction. Hello and welcome everyone to our contribution for the PulpCon in 2025. So we are a German research center and have been using Pulp for the last 3 years in production. And we never really showcased our setup, so I thought it might be a good idea to present our setup and the journey over the last 3 years. So yeah, I will just start to introduce who we are. So we are the Forschungszentrum Jülich, which basically translates to Research Center Jülich, and one of the biggest research centers in Germany and probably even in Europe. And I'm working at the Jülich Supercomputing Center, and we are an institute and doing research on operations for computing. So we're doing high performance computing, cloud computing, and some quantum computing also. And our group is administrating some clusters for HPC and non-HPC use cases, of which some are available to external users and some are only for internal users that we just use for ourselves. And just like I think 3 weeks ago, we achieved 1 exaflop with Jupyter on the top 500 list and have the biggest European supercomputer. I think the 3 bigger ones are all based in the US. So that's to where I work. Now let's get over to the Pulp instance that we use. So historically, we are a shop which has been using CentOS, Rocky Linux, and Rail. So CentOS not so much anymore because of the development that was there regarding the stable distros. We just do some updates across our systems, and we have around 10,000 nodes, which we sometimes need to update. Usually not all of them. But yeah, that is bandwidth intense. So we had an RPM mirror for like always. And for the HPC systems, that's only the management and the login nodes. So we are not for the majority of use cases that are the compute nodes that are doing all of the computing. We usually don't need to run updates on all of them because we do imaging and then provide the images via that mechanism. Very seldomly we do have high severity CVEs where we don't have the time to provide a new image and just update directly. Then our repo is under a bigger load. Before Pulp, we just had a boring HTTPD mirroring stack, and we were mirroring upstream repos via cron job. And then we had some requirements for a next generation. So we wanted to have a split between staging on the one hand and an approved production repository, so that we just push everything on RPMs to the staging and then say at certain points in time, yeah, okay, the state is fine to go to production with, and then we put it to production. We also want to provide our own repositories for something that is self-built or rebuilt or repackaged as RPMs. We do have a bit of software that we build in-house, so some of them also need to be installed via RPM in the systems. All of that should, of course, integrate into CI, and we want to have a workflow for rollback. And that's basically how we arrived at Pulp. Now I will show how the Pulp instance works. So the full stack of Pulp I would divide into the core infrastructure, which provides the Pulp service itself, and also into support utilities that we use so that we also have so that we can use Pulp more efficiently. So in our Kubernetes cluster, we do have an internal Kubernetes cluster, which we call Jarvis, which we just have to easily spin up some services. That's a 7-node bare metal cluster that we have standing around here. And we use Flux and Argo CD there for declarative config management. Yeah, and Pulp is hosted there on the Kubernetes server via the Pulp operator, and we started with that in November 2022, and it was 1.0.0 Alpha 3 that we used, which was an early version of the Go-based operator. We haven't used the Ansible-based operator with Pulp on Kubernetes before. Yeah, as database provider for the Postgres instance, we used Cloud Native PG before we had the inbuilt Postgres database that comes with the operator, but Cloud Native PG just is better to use within Kubernetes and is easier to maintain. Yeah. For the actual storage of the artifacts, we use S3 on Ceph. We do have a 3-node-based Ceph cluster, which serves also the S3 backend, and that has 12 times 3.5 terabyte SSDs per node, and we have 3 of them, so plenty of space to host RPMs. Yeah, as support utilities, we're using a GitLab instance, which is a self-hosted on-prem instance of the community edition. Yeah, on it we have the repo tool, which interacts with Pulp. So that's some custom in-house software that we have there, which basically does the create, read, update, and delete for RPM and file repositories, and adds new RPMs or files to the repository. Yeah, and with all of that, we have opinionated a bit of a streamlined CLI for our access, so that we can give that to other admins who don't have the deep knowledge about Pulp and can still use it. In our CI, we use the repo tool for automation. So, for example, for automatically uploading RPMs via CI after we build them, and also for mirroring upstream repos nightly via the CI. Yeah, now I just brought some raw numbers of our Pulp instance. Right now we're running on 12 Pulp workers. We have 487 RPM repositories, which might sound like a lot, and it probably also is, but that also comes from the fact that we are both mirroring x86 and AH64, and that leads to 22 repos that we need per Rocky Linux version. It also has base OS, CRP, HA, and Fstream, and then also kickstart and non-kickstart repos. So over time, that gets quite a lot. Yeah. Yeah, we're using an additive sync policy for the mirror repositories, so we do not delete the old version of the repositories of the RPMs. We just keep the ones and add the new ones to it. Last time I checked, it was 129 repositories that we mirror nightly. Now with the release of 9.7, this number changed again. Yeah, and we are always doing 4 mirrors in parallel. And that takes about 20 minutes for mirroring if we don't have big changes, and 90 to 150 minutes if we have many changes, which is fine for our use case. Yeah, sometimes it even took longer. I think I've seen some instances of 2.5 hours when we need to sync new repositories. Yeah, afterwards we have a cleanup script. I will get to that later. Yeah, we're storing 3.5 terabytes of artifacts on S3, and the PostgreSQL database is 54 gigabytes big. Yeah. Now I will show the workflow that we use for repository mirroring. So the first step that we do is we update the certificates. That's only for the RHEL-based repositories. We just grab client certificates from KubeVirt VMs via that have RHEL installed. Yeah, for that, for the repositories itself, we do have an allow list on the ingress, so that unauthorized systems who don't have an RHEL license cannot fetch these RPMs. Yeah, these are always then updated and uploaded to Pulp. In the past, we didn't do that automatically, and the certificate expired at points in times which were not really deterministic to us, so we introduced this step. Yeah, afterwards we are doing a repo tool sync. So we are going through a list of repositories which should be synced, and start the syncing task and have 4 always running in parallel. And that creates the repository. If it doesn't exist, start the sync, wait for the sync to finish, and then afterwards create the distribution and the publication, where the publication is only for our staging part that is not yet approved. Yeah. Afterwards, we do a vacuum of the publications. That is at least how we call it internally. And that's basically to remove the publications that are not referenced by any distribution. Now, the question comes, why do we do that? And we do that because in December 2023, we noticed if we do a publication each time we do something, then we do have 200 of megabytes database growth, and that's per night. So I calculated how much that would be per year, and that's a 73 gigabyte database growth per year, and that was when we had less repositories than we have right now. So that was not really nice on the use of the database. So what we do right now is we just delete all the publications that are currently in no distributions, so that are not served anywhere. And then if we later then need to revert the distribution, the repository version still exists, so we can do that, and we have something in our tooling. Don't know if we had to do that at any point in time, but in case we need to, we have something available. Yeah. Another big workflow that we have, and that is a big use case for us, is the building of RPMs, which we also do mostly in GitLab CI. The first step is then to do a build to build and sign, which is a bit outside of Pulp itself, but yeah, that's something where we build the RPM as defined in the spec file via mock, and then sign it with a GPG secret, which is scoped to the RPM group, so that it can then be installed if we trust that GPG key. The next step is then the repo tool upload. Yeah, we create a specified repository if that's necessary. So if the repository hasn't been created, and then afterwards upload the RPMs to Pulp. Yeah, we do a chunked upload there because we had some difficulties with non-chunked uploads, but these were also related to our ingress, which I think had a size limit of 10 megabytes. Yeah, it's a bit slower, but still fast enough, so it works for us. Yeah, the next step then is the repo tool publish. So we create a new publication with the new RPMs included. Yeah, and then we create a new distribution on the latest path. And for the stable path, yeah, we just, yeah, we don't do that yet, but we do that then later, like, for example, before maintenance. And on updating everything. Was there already a question?
Jared asked if we should be uploading, bumping the default Nginx upload limit in our images. Do you use those images, or do you have your own settings there?
No, we have our own settings there, I think. Yeah, we're using a different ingress because we also modify the repo, so where the content is served, because we didn't want to have a long path on that. And the API to different domains.
Okay.
Yeah. So then let's continue. This now is my ranting slide number 1. Another one will be upcoming a bit. So yeah, I have a few pain points that I had as a user. So one of the big pain points in the past was the upgrade paths for the Pulp operator. So there it was when the custom resource definition got a new version from one release to the next. That was done without an upgrade path. So the old CRD was directly removed and Pulp needs to be forcefully deleted and recreated. Yeah, that was always painful. Yeah, with other projects, it's often that they do have two CRD versions that can be used at the same time within a specified time frame, and then retire the older one then at a later point of time. I get that it's easier to maintain, but for a user, it's kind of painful. Yeah, something else that we had pains with was the zero downtime migrations that Pulp introduced at some point in time. And these do restrict the max version jumps. So we don't always upgrade Pulp to the next minor release as soon as it releases. We've done it at basically random points in time, the updates and the housekeeping. In general, I think that's a good feature, but I'm missing the documentation which version jumps work and which don't. So we were ending up with some leap of faith upgrade paths where we just said, yeah, well, let's try to jump 8 minor versions, which might work or might not work. And then if it didn't work, then we just went with a lower jump. Yeah.
Do you try this in like a staging environment and then in your production if it works there, or what's your setup there?
That would be a good idea, but actually we don't do that. So
okay.
Would be something to improve on, but yeah, that's not the case currently. Yeah. So now a bit on the gains that we have with Pulp to not only have ranting slides. Yeah, what's really, really nice about it is that it does the heavy lifting via automation. And in general, Pulp is nothing for us as admins to worry about most of the times. Failures within builds or within mirroring are caught via email. And if we want to build new packages, for example, if a new kernel comes out, that's often only one commit away, plus some waiting time, but that's mostly on the build and less on Pulp itself. We do have almost high availability, and the almost comes from the fact that the Postgres architecture is in a way that we need to do a switch over every now and then if we would need to reboot the primary. That's a few seconds, which means that you can have a race conditions where some package updates fail, but that's only for a short amount of time and that's acceptable for us. Yeah, and through the abstractions that we have internally, the Pulp interaction is possible without deeper knowledge. So we can conclude that Pulp is working great when it's in the background and doesn't interrupt our work on something else. Yeah, so this is now my ranting slide number 2, where I also put some wishes. So for the Pulp operator, what I have noticed there is there's no vertical scaling for workers. So what I would like to see there would be to run more than one thread per pod on the worker. On the API, we do that, but currently we need to provision 12 pods of workers. So it would be nice if there would be something like 3 times 4 workers. Yeah, for the Pulp release management, as I just said, a minimum required version would be really nice to have for zero downtime migrations. on each release. So that you say, hi, so this release, you need to be at minimum on version X to upgrade to Y, or to upgrade to this release. Yeah, that's a hint that I, as a user, would appreciate.
Just in the change logs, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, also on the Pulp release management, so I attached a screenshot there. It's kind of not nice to read. I don't mind having that. I mean, I guess that's probably some rendering, which is nice in the official docs for the changelog. Yeah, but it doesn't render that nicely to GitHub. So I would also be completely fine with just hyperlinking the official docs where it's nicely formatted. Yeah, and then also what's a bit annoying here and there is that some stuff is broken in minor releases. Yeah, I stumbled upon that. I think even a CRD, I didn't really find any document. I think I found documentation, but not in the releases. Yeah, so not breaking stuff in minor releases would be my wish. And then, of course, when you do, then please document it. And I would wish for a big warning sign so that I, as a user, could see that and then say, oh, okay, that's something that I need to take a look on and can prepare beforehand. Yeah, so that was it. And now there's some time for Q&A.
Go ahead, Matthias.
I just put it.
Yes. Can you put up the last ranting slide again, please? For the zero downtime upgrade, the question is, do you do zero downtime upgrades?
That depends on whether it works or not. So that's the plan. But
yeah, so I kind of want to outline how it's seen on our side. We do have kind of an obligation to allow for zero downtime upgrade. At the same time, we do it for installations that tend to run the latest version at all times.
Yeah.
We don't have a rule. I think we kind of try to at least make it possible to skip one minor version. So not to do it, not to need to go through every single one.
Yeah.
Again, that's not a rule. I think that's what we've tried to do in the past. We don't also have so many dangerous migrations. Yeah, it's kind of become rather stable these days.
Yeah.
We can probably try to put something in the change logs for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So to be completely fair, I do understand the architecture behind that, and I also know why you need that. I think for me, it's really just having that documented and knowing, okay,
yes, I will
can
take
go that far back. It's really nice.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Go ahead,
what
Matthias.
I actually heard of other stakeholders is that they go and look into the migrations themselves, because we put the failure, so to say, in the migration to make sure that the old version really is stopped running and before we start ripping apart the database underneath it. And that's the other point. If you shut down all the services, the migrations should not fail in that manner anymore.
Right. But the goal is to have everything still up. I mean, most of what I'm hearing on this slide, which is great, is it would be good if we could make it so users don't have to look into that by themselves. We could just say, hey, this change, this minor release assumes that the following things are true would be good. As far as don't break stuff in minor releases, it makes me grimace because we don't want to break stuff in minor releases. And the times that we have, it has often been an after the fact, somebody like Ruben, you or David comes to us and says, you know that broke things, right? And our response is blah, and then we have to add more tests. So that is our goal, and sometimes software happens.
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah, it's hard to put that in the change log when we do the release.
Exactly right.
Yeah, but our goal is definitely to not break things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We try hard on that, and we'll get better. We are better than we have been, and we will keep working on that. So we hear you.
Yeah.
Dennis, did you have a question, by the way?
Well, I was just gonna ask for an example of something that broke recently that he had in mind when he was writing this slide.
Yeah. So the CRD was one of the examples. Something else was something in the settings. Where something regarding the storages. I'm not sure. I think it was either in Pulp core where the setting for that changed.
Yep, default storage settings, I think, is what you're talking about, because that was a significant change.
Yeah.
Is that because of Jenga storages changes, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for something like that, a warning sign, something in red. I don't know.
Right.
Font size.
Do you use domains or no?
What do you mean by domains?
You probably do not then. In Pulp, you can create domains to isolate different users from each other, and content that's created in one domain is not available to a user that's in another domain.
Yeah. No, we are not using that.
Okay.
Right. All right. Actually, we're a little past time here. This has been a great talk, Ruben. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so people have a chance to take a break, and we will be resuming. Absolutely. This has been amazing. In 3 minutes, we are going to resume with Matthias's discussion on Pulp UI. Let me stop the recording.